Hi, I'm Olivia Schaefer, and I'm a student in Cabrini University's Mass Communication course. And in class, we're learning how to be a critical consumer of news and information, as well as a responsible producer of media. And for this website project, I am stepping into the role of responsible producer and working to educate audiences about the injustices of ethical fashion. So, before this project, I knew that some of my clothes were made in sweatshops in other countries, and that it is very rare to find clothes in the US that were actually made ethically in the US, but I had no clue realistically how many of the clothes in my closet were actually made in sweatshops. Like, I would say now probably 95% of my clothes were made out of the US unethically. And although I knew that clothes were made in sweatshops, I would have never imagined that the working conditions they deal with every day are as bad as they actually are today. For example, the people in the sweatshops making our clothes are getting paid little to nothing, being forced to work sometimes 14 to 16-hour shifts, and being extremely crammed in small, unsafe buildings that make injuries so common, and people are even dying to make the clothes that we wear every day. One of the ways I was able to learn more about sustainable fashion is through social media. Social media has grown tremendously over the past decade and has drastically changed the way the world works. Since social media is how the majority of people today interact with the world, social media has had a great impact on how ethical fashion issues are now covered. Before social media, many people were not aware of sustainable fashion because there were not many popular articles being written and shared enough, whereas today articles can be written daily on social issues like ethical fashion, and they're being shared on platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that we all use every day, where they are then continuously shared and read by thousands of people throughout these medias. So overall, social media has definitely helped ethical fashion and other social issues be more known to the general population, and it's helping create more of an awareness. But there's always room for more awareness at the end of the day, so there's always more we can still do to help these issues. And going off of that, one thing that I wish people around the world knew more about ethical fashion is that they are capable of helping to put an end to unethical fashion overseas. Simple things like researching new stores that sell ethical fashion, such as stores like Everlane, Pact, and thredUP, could be replacing your Forever 21, H&M, and Primark with similar prices. The only major difference is that they were made by people who were treated ethically and with respect. And even if you may think buying a whole new wardrobe in ethical fashion is too much and seems extreme, then at least use your sources and voice to spread more awareness about this extremely real issue going on in the world. Talk about it on your Twitter, share it with your friends and family, make these poor people's stories known, and let's fight together for their help and freedom. And since learning about sustainable fashion, I decided to look deeper on a company I personally own a lot from to check and see how sustainable they have become in 2018. And this company I decided to choose is Nike. I personally love Nike, and I will admit it would be hard to give up if they weren't sustainable. So I did some research and found out that back in 1991, it was reported that there were low wages and poor working conditions in Nike's Indonesian factories. After this was publicized, Nike eventually made some changes by improving its monitoring efforts, raising the minimum age of workers, and increasing factory inspections. Just last year, it was stated by Morgan Stanley from the Business of Fashion that Nike was the most sustainable apparel and footwear company in North America for environmental and social performance. But this didn't mean that Nike was in the clear, because unfortunately, in this past March, it was reported that they took a step back in the wrong direction and began hiding too much of their supply chain up again. This to me was very upsetting because it shows how easy it is to fix supply chains and become sustainable, but how money-hungry big companies today have become, that they rather their clothing be made in sweatshops in Indonesia for cheaper than ethically by people who are treated fairly. And it's very sad to see that today. And as I've worked on this project, I've come to understand that media's role in society is to use media for the good of others and to use your voice and following to spread awareness of the injustice going on in the world.